Well, just quickly, I might as well just show you just quickly the pictures that I've
Okay.
got here.
Yeah.
The differences. See, here's one with anemia and iron deficiency. You see see the white patches, but
Yeah.
they've got this color variation around the edges, the red blood cells, and then you've got the red blood cells here.
Right.
Okay, so that's I know when you look at them, you know, like it's.
Is that a liver one? Or no, that's not a liver.
No, this is anemia, iron deficiency.
Oh, right. Right.
So that see, they're a different shape. They haven't got a black halo.
Yeah.
Different shapes. Okay. And they've got this discoloration, this orangey browny type cells around the edges.
White.
All right. Come down here. This is viral activity, chronic fatigue. You see, these are a little bent. They're bent. See, some of these are bent.
Oh, right.
Curves. See these curves?
Well, I thought you said those little curves were viral.
Well, yeah, viral. They're viral because they're linked to low oxygen, which is linked to chronic fatigue.
I see. Okay, right.
Okay.
Is that the liver?
No, this is the liver up here. Oh, well, we'll get to the liver in a minute. No, but so they're all
different.
Sorry?
Where's that from? Just over Hall?
This is just a different sample.
Right.
Yeah, so you see what I've done here is if you see here, then I'll go through and explain it.
Yeah.
In detail. Okay. Color variation, anemia, iron deficiency, low energy, fatigue. And then I go into details about the different associations with it.
And you've just posted that this new thing up.
Yeah, I'm just put it on a group that's not available yet, but it will be soon. So I haven't finished it yet. Okay.
Yeah.
So they're all different shapes.
Yeah.
Sometimes you might see two things or three things in the one, but I'm just taking the picture for a certain so this one here, narrow puddles, elongated, bent, curved, V shapes. You see, these are the ones here, which are different to these ones.
Right.
Okay, and you can see these ones.
Yeah.
If I zoom it up, there's a sialic acid bead.
Yeah, there's a
sialic acid bead here, but then I've got another one on sialic beads because you see it a little bit more clearer.
Right.
This is fibrin. See, there's no fibrin.
Oh, right. There's too much red.
So this is poor protein.
Poor protein, right.
Okay, once again, I'll go into the overview, key associations with it, what's connected, blah, blah, blah.
Fantastic.
This is heavy metal. See the darker area around the edge?
Yeah, right. And they're often spun out to the side, you said, because they spin out.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
I think I talked about that in the...
You did. You said it's...
Yeah. And so I just go into talk a little bit more details about, well, where do they come from? What possible exposure?
That's fantastic. That
all the different stuff, and then go into addressing them.
Oh, amazing!
All the different detail. I've done a hell of a lot of work to just really redo the structure of my blood analysis and all the protocols, and go into details and really change it up a bit. But
fantastic.
Just on the blood, on the
heavy metals,
on these heavy. So when we take the sample, and I've spoken about this before, but Sarah might not have, well, wouldn't have heard this before. So when we, hang on, you can see me. I'm looking for where the video is. So when we prick our finger, and we wait about 20 seconds to take the sample, everything's spinning. All right, we don't know that, we can't see that, but on a molecular level, everything's spinning.
On our finger.
On our finger, in the blood. On the blood, so the blood
in the little drop.
Yeah, the little drop bleed. So everything's spinning. You don't see that, but that's what's going on. All right. This is why the blood samples are quite accurate to tell you, well, what do we see? Where do we see it? Because we know through science that the lighter elements are in the middle, and as they get heavier, they spread out to the outer edge.
Okay.
And they know where those elements come from. So if it's very light, for instance, it's right in the middle. It's in our gut areas and our reproductive gut areas. So when we see stress right in the middle, we know it's in that area. And as it spins out, it can spin out to the liver, to the kidneys, to the heart, to other parts of the body. So it can give us a little bit more of a. So with the heavy metals, because metals are heavy, they will spin out to the side, out to the edges.
Yeah. Right.
Okay. So when we see that, it's not necessarily. I mean, this picture did come from someone I think that had. You see, it's not all around, because you're not going to get every time. You're going to get a perfect picture.
Yeah.
That's perfectly you know, like a perfect example,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
this is one. So what that tells me, it doesn't, when I see this, I don't say, oh, you've got heavy metals. What it does is it just gives us another clue to say, well,
Right.
this might be an issue. Are we seeing anything else that would
Right.
point towards heavy metals? Are we struggling in areas that we really can't pinpoint? Maybe we need to do an HTMA test so that we can actually look deeper into it might be so it's just like all of these bloods, they're not like, oh well, I see that, therefore it's this. We might see oxidative stress, we know it's oxidative stress. Some things are quite certain, but things like heavy metals, that's just a clue that we say, no, that might be something. Are we seeing anything else that tells us there could be some heavy metals?
When you said HTMA, what is that? Sorry.
Hair tissue minerals analysis.
Oh, God, right. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's going to pick up heavy metals.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, these ones, I haven't got any pictures of these. These are crystals and glass look structures, and I'm waiting for a picture. I haven't seen one of them before.
Okay.
Oh, there's a couple here that I haven't got. Okay.
Right.
So this is systemic oxidative stress. You see the big puddles.
Oh, big white puddles. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So when we've got that and it's all over the sample, we know that there's a lot of oxidative stress. So when we see that, we go, well, why do we have oxidative stress? What's going on?
Right. Oh, this is fantastic. Oh my God.
Okay, and you can see there's a sialic acid bead there and a sialic acid bead there, but I've got another one on sialic acid beads. Structural stress, when we talked about that before, see these lines?
Yeah, the lines, yeah.
Okay, that's usually neck, back, or shoulders, the structural stress.
What? How do you know? It's because of the position. It is.
No, it can pop up anywhere.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, you see these lines, it will pop up anywhere, and sometimes I can pick the people who've had a car accident 20 years ago.
Wow.
But I never ask the question when I never. In the questionnaire, I never ask about this because it's always interesting. I can't say any more than you've got structural stress, and mostly they're going to know anyway.
Right.
But this is very good when you're doing a consultation. You know, like I talk about this often. With any of this sort of work, I'm working with people that have been disappointed so much, so long.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's why a lot of people really hold back with doing any testing with me. I know that because they're reserved. They go like, well, like, oh yeah, I know Mark said this, and but I've been told this before, and I've been told this before, and they said this and said this, blah blah blah. It's so a lot of people lose confidence, and so when they do some testing with me, one of the first things I want to do is ideally is like that's why I go through the bloods with them, is because I'm starting to read back what I'm seeing, and when they see this, and I say, what's going on with your neck, back, or shoulders, or something, they go, how did you do that? I say,
yeah,
because I'm reading your book. You're a book, and I'm reading you. And
couldn't you have structural damage like down in your feet or your legs?
It could be. It could be. It could be. Sometimes, depending on where you see this, if it's I can't tell anymore. I can't tell where it is or what it is, but I know it's structural. And usually it's just like the only reason I talk about it is because it's good for them to go like, oh, I have their attention.
Yeah.
And now they're going to listen more when they go like, oh my God, there must be something in this. Not that they didn't think there was, but it's everyone's. When I first did these bloods, it took me a while. I thought, yeah, okay, it's cool. Like surely it's not that obvious. When I started learning, it took a while, and because I've done so much now, I see the correlation. I have all the confidence in the world because I don't just do the bloods. Sometimes I do, but I also measure everything else. And when I had a clinic, I was measuring everything else, and we were because I would do with my partner, I would do an assessment or the consultation with her, because she used to do all the reagents testing on the urine and saliva and everything else. So she was sat one part of the office, and I was sat doing the bloods. So I would be talking through the bloods, and I'd be going like, okay, I think I can see a bit of liver, and she'd be going like, I can see the liver here too. And the client would be like, oh my God, like you guys look at, we're looking this. It's really good to get that confirmation. But when you get that confirmation, it just gives everyone confidence that we're nobody knows everything that's going on, but we've got to get as close as possible to knowing, so that we're not wasting time.
Wow.
And
I find it incredible that one little spot of blood that's now hopped out of your skin to the outside sort of contains the whole story of your body.
Yeah, because blood is holographic. So
Right.
holographic. So you see you see the whole body in every piece of blood, every bit of blood. So holographic is it's the whole, and every little bit you look at, you're looking at the whole thing.
Wow.
It's a reflection.
And yet it's going round, you know, and getting
Yeah.
clogged somewhere and then not getting clogged up.
It keeps.
So you might have got a bit that wasn't clogged up, for instance, instead of a bit that was flowing freely.
Yeah, you might see that for sure. But when you see things like these, you'd think, well, how do I pick up? How does it show up a structural? Like it's, I don't know. I wasn't the clever people that worked all this out years and years and years ago. I just learned how to read them. Like
Right.
like when this science sort of took off. They obviously did thousands and thousands of correlations with known diagnostic conditions and stuff like that, and eventually they started to be able to correlate, and then they knew because every time that's how they did it, is because it was correlated with they knew medically what was going on, and eventually they worked it all out.
Right.
Oh, here's sialic acid beads.
Oh, yeah.
What is that? Mark?
Sialic acid beads are a degenerative, a reflection of, well, let's see. Look, I'll show you. Okay, embedded with polymerized. So they're little white beads. They're often green. Okay, and they're markers of potential degenerative disease.
Oh, Christ.
Okay, so when I see sialic acid beads, I go on. I put a fair bit of information here about that and what to do about them.
Right.
So are you talking like Parkinson's or MS?
No, it's really hard to be precise about. If we have someone with Parkinson's, we might see some related issues that could be linked to that.
Right.
But I would know when I see these conditions, like the sialic acid beads, for instance. Well, we know it's a degenerative, it's a reflection of very acidic tissues, and you can see they're actually it's amongst a big puddle, and that puddle is polymerized protein puddles. That's a degeneration. That's oxidative stress.
Right.
Okay. So and that's a polymerized protein puddles are emulsified cells. Okay. Because cells are breaking down more than building up. This is free radical damage. We're seeing it. It's the white puddles that come through a bit yellow. Now, when we see the sialic acid beads, that's another big stamp there as far as bang. We've not only got oxidative stress, but we've got sialic acid beads, which is it's quite a strong degenerative reflection because of the acidic tissues, and we've got oxidative stress. Now, if we've got that going on, we've got acidic tissues. One of the things with sialic acid beads is they're often associated with cancer.
Right.
But so are parasites. But just because you've got parasites doesn't mean you've got cancer, and just because you have sialic acid beads doesn't mean you have cancer. But if I see sialic acid beads, I'm gonna once again, as I'm going through the analysis. Excuse me, I'm a little bit. Once I go through as I'm going through the analysis, I'm saying, right, what other symptoms or what other markers am I seeing that would point towards this being more of a high risk to cancer? And that's things like low oxygen delivery. So low oxygen delivery would be looking at, do we have anabolic cell membrane imbalance? Okay, because of an anabolic cell membrane imbalance is when cell membranes are more closed, so that it's all cancer tumors are anabolic in nature. They're anaerobic. They're closed off. They have their own internal environment. They ferment sugars. Okay, so I have a look at that. I look at the cell membrane profile with the metabolic profile and say, oh yeah, we're also anabolic. Okay, and then I might look at things like sugar readings. Do we have high sugars? Yes, we do. Well, that's even low. That's even more low oxygen.
Mhm.
Okay, and if we've got lots of oxidative stress all over the place, and it's really full on, and I see that sometimes, that's when I recommend. I look, what I'm seeing is an environment that's you're quite highly vulnerable to tumor development.
Good.
So if it's really bad and it's full on, then I say my advice is I would go and just get some checks just to make sure everything's okay, that there isn't anything going on.
Could that show you where the you see it is cancer? Could that then show you where the original source is?
No,
Right.
no. You may see some other stress that does point to a little bit of oxidative stress in the liver, which can say, well, the liver is stressed. But no, you would never get that close to being being that accurate. So, and I would never, of course, you know, when I see a picture with we just go back up. When I see a picture like this and it's all over every spot, I literally get the shivers. I get a bit. I almost it's you know, like it's awful, because I go, oh my dear Lord, this is not looking good. Because then now I have to address that, and I have to be very careful when I'm talking to a client, because there's no way I'm going to say, you know, like, I've got to be very careful about what I say, especially if that person's very sensitive.
Yeah, it's very frightening.
So I have to be very mindful with my words and how I go about emphasizing the importance of probably going and do some more testing, because what I'm seeing is an environment conducive to cancer. Doesn't mean you're going to get cancer, but if you're also going through stress, you have a stressful environment, you're not eating properly, you've got no nutrition or whatever, you're not sleeping well, all these things will add to the fact, and maybe have parasites. All these things add to the stress, and it just lifts the vulnerability to you having that cancer. I have picked cancer before. Okay, but I picked cancer. I picked cancer a couple of times, and that's when a person has they did the sample, but then it took ages before they did the consultation. And when they come on, as I started talking to them about this, and straight away they would say, "Oh, Mark, I just want to let you know, like, after I did my testing, I went to ER and stuff like that, and they found a tumor." And I'm like, yeah, I can see that.
Right.
You know, but I would never say I see a tumor, because I'm not looking. I can't diagnose anything with this. We're just looking at the environment.
But
And I think it really emphasizes the importance with this work is everything. So the environment dictates everything. So if we see a condition, if we look enough of the variables and elements of the environment, we will find the reason, because it has structure. It just doesn't happen. There's structure to cancer. Cancer requires certain things to be able to thrive. It needs an acidic environment. Okay, it needs a low oxygen environment. There's two things we can check very, very easily. Okay, and so when we're doing this, we're trying to build a case, and I think I talked about that in the video I did yesterday. Like, we're trying to build a case. Nobody knows it, because even when you go into the mainstream hospital and you do some testing, sometimes they won't pick it up.
Yeah,
you know, I lost my partner from pancreatic cancer because we knew something was going on, because we saw it. We knew something was going on because of her numbers are all over the place. I've got pictures. I've got her blood pictures. That's why I was so passionate. One of the reasons why I'm passionate about doing this work is because when, you know, I mean, I cared for her for the last 3 months of her life, 24 hours a day. I was with her, and we talked a lot about it, because we go, well, we picked something up. We knew something was wrong, but no one could tell us, and there's nothing else you can do. When you go to a hospital in Australia, they're really good hospitals, and they still didn't pick it. What can you do? You know,
and if they say nothing's wrong, you tend to believe it, and you think, well, right, and then the pain goes away, so you think, oh, it's all right now.
well, the pain did go away quite quick, and then she was all right again, and just like, oh well. But the one thing, I'll mention it now, the one thing that we didn't pick, and you know, when you've got pancreatic cancer and it's quite serious, you're dead, you're gone anyway. You're not going to recover from it. You're not going to recover. It's a death sentence. Maybe 2% of people live a bit longer, but that's it. Pancreatic cancer, stage 4, you're gone. But one of the things one of the things I didn't pick up, because I didn't know, I mean, we spent, years together before I even got into this work, is that when I used to sometimes feel in a back, I used to feel sometimes this warm spot in the back. I used to brush her back with my back of my hands, and I go like, oh, you feel really warm there. And that was a freaking cancer. That was a tumor.
And that's on the back.
Yeah, on the lower back. Yeah, where a pancreas. Yeah, that's right. Down near the gallbladder pancreas area, there was this warm spot, and it was like we never really picked it up, never really thought about it. It was just like, oh, babe, look, it's really warm there. We did for years. Used to pick that up sometimes, and never used to think about it. And that's why I wrote some posts quite a long time ago about the importance of when couples to every now and then to just go over the skin with your back of your hand to see if you feel any warm spots, because if you do, there's a lot of energy there. There's a lot of energy. For some reason, there's a lot of energy, and that can be a tumor, because a tumor gives off a lot of energy, and you can feel that in heat.
Oh, blimey.
Yeah, like.
I think you should go and work for the NHS. Why don't they use all this? I mean, wouldn't it be so useful?
Well, because I know. Well, I mean,
I wouldn't go and work for the NHS.
Yeah, I mean, the medical system is there to fix a problem that shouldn't have occurred in the first place. Yeah. A lot of this work is to focus on preventing the illness from happening in the first place, because we're looking at the environment. They're looking at the condition.
Yeah. Which they've just said today. They're aiming on prevention now. Finally, they've. Yeah,
but
it means nothing, I'm sure.
No, it means nothing. It's a bit like mainstream blood testing.
Yeah,
I've lost count of the amount of people that have told me, because I talk about this often. I've made videos about it, and I've made posts about this. Is how many people have gone to the doctor. They've been sick for quite a while, and they've done some blood tests, and the doctor says, all good. You've got nothing to worry about. Take a pill, go home.
That's what happened to me.
Oh.
Yeah.
And for years, I had ME symptoms, chronic fatigue, and I was told it was all in my head. Have a pill. I was on antidepressants at the age of 8 because they just put it down to stress and anxiety. And then it was only when I was in my 30s that they actually started to believe me. In my 30s. It's awful. This is why I was following you.
Yeah.
Because you were the only one to give me answers, or at least give me hope without drugs. My husband didn't like the fact I was on 30 a day.
I mean, the end of the day,
ridiculous.
Like a doctor. Mainstream medicine is going to be the first place you go to if you find yourself wrapped around a tree in a car accident, because they're going to save your life.
Yeah.
But when you do a mainstream blood testing, what are they doing? They're looking at the environment, or they're looking for things. They're looking for things, but those things are there because of the result of the environment. So if we look for the things, we bang it on the head. Well, what about the environment that created those things? You bang it on the head. It's like cutting cancer out without removing the reason why the cancer is there in the first place. So it's going to come back, which it does. Okay, this is why adults have to be so careful and be so mindful about them putting their kids through enormous amounts of, like, I talk about this a lot. I get so much flack sometimes because I say, like, it's almost child abuse by allowing your children, by bringing your children up and conditioning them that every time there's something to celebrate, you give them some crap.
Yeah.
Lollies. Okay. And you associate that with good. So as they grow up, every time they feel a bit stressed or they want something good, they have some lollies. And now you're setting your child up for long-term for obesity, for low self-esteem, for mental issues, for depression, because that's what they all get. And it's all because they didn't know any different. They don't know the long-term consequences, but we do as adults. But we still go, oh yeah, but it's okay. You know, little Johnny's okay. It's just a treat. No, it's not a freaking treat. You're
No.
poisoning your kids. And
Mm.
that's got to change. Because if that doesn't change, well, then we'll still have this conveyor belt, and we'll still have all this money, trillions of dollars to put into curing a problem that shouldn't have occurred because we didn't nip it in the bud. Because you walk down the shop and you walk into a local convenience store and there's nothing but poisonous drugs for sale, which is all the chocolate and processed food.
Absolutely.
They're the biggest drug dealers in the world is people selling that junk to people that is not healthy. It's
Because
more
it's-
less healthy. You're better off
business.
giving people cigarettes and freaking alcohol than giving these kids these chocolates and stuff and all these sweets and lollies and processed food. It's crazy that it's still going, and that needs to change. So how does it change? Where does it change? It needs to change. It's a generational thing. It needs to change as young as possible, because you've got to try and influence children at a very young age to understand a bit more about who they are and how what they do affects them, and not just tell them, don't do that, Johnny, don't do that, Johnny, that's bad for you, without having a clue why, because Johnny needs to know why. Why, Mum? Oh, I don't know. No, you just don't do it. It's bad for you. And as they grow up, and I've mentioned this before, because when I had my clinic, I had that sometimes the client will come in with a child, and because we were doing a dual consultation, and when they were doing the urine stuff with my partner, I would say, hey, Johnny, do you want? I'll come up and have a look on the microscope, and I'd sit them up onto my desk, and I'd let them go into the microscope, and then I'd take them onto a journey, and I'll take their blood, and I'll take them in to have a look at their body and have a look at their bloods, and I'll introduce them. I tried to tell them a little bit of a story about who they really were, and look at this, and they see the white blood cells moving around. I say, this is who you are. This is what you're made of. And you see these little white blood cells, see them moving around because they're working for you. They're keeping you alive. They're keeping you well. And and then I started to talk about how the impacts of when you drink soda water, Coke and stuff like that, and eat lollies, what it does to the neutrophils and that, because they curl up into a ball and they go into a coma. They don't move, and sometimes they actually burst because they're overstimulated by the sugar. And I had so much impact on these kids. They were first up, they couldn't believe that, they looked at me as like I was some doctor, oh my God, he's an authority, and he's an adult, and I'm allowed to sit up on his very expensive $20,000 microscope. And I got him on there, and it made such a big difference. I'll tell this story all the time. One of the first kids I did this to was a client that said, Mark, when she came in, she said, I want you to scare, I think her name was Romy. Can you please do something with Romy? I want you to scare her because she won't stop. She eats too many soft drinks and I can't get her off the junk food. Right. And I did this with her. And I remember this is why I'm talking about it more now, because I want to change more towards doing this somehow. Because a couple of weeks later, her mum rang me up and she said, Mark, I just need to tell you this. I really want to tell you this. We usually have a pizza night on Wednesday night, right? And it's pizza night. And then when they have pizza, they had some Coke and stuff like that. And that night, Romy said, hey, Mum, do you think we should have a pizza night? Because what about my white blood cells? and that to me, and I thought, you know what, that was a 20-minute thing I did with her. And I've done that with other kids too. 20 minutes, 10, 15 minutes, because they're so interested, right? When they're young, the younger they are, the more influence you can have on them, because it sinks in. They don't question it.
Yeah.
Right? They haven't got 20, 30, 40 years of disappointment and misinformation. These kids will believe anything. And if they're younger than, when they're too young, they don't understand that much. But I saw the change in their faces. When we're adults, we look into the mirror and we think, well, this is who I am. No, this is not who you are. This is a manifestation of what you are down in below. And that's how you got to look after. You don't look after this, because by the time you see it here, it's too freaking late. You don't want to see the illness. You want to see the beginnings of the illness. So therefore, you've got to look deeper. And when kids see that, and they go like, oh my God, like there's something else inside of me, and it's living and it's moving.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I'll take them on a little journey with the white blood cells and tell them a little story, and they'll go like, "Oh my God!" Now, what I did is I built I introduced them to their cells and their white blood cells, especially the white blood cells, because they moved. And I built that association with them. They had this association with the white blood cells, something inside of them, like a little pet. They look after the little pet, but then they'll go down the road and buy a can of Coke. But this is part of them. Mind blowing. Parasites. So you see that, we've all seen little parasite markers.
Yeah, they're like little black blobs.
All right. Just very quickly, and especially for you, Sarah, because you haven't seen this so much.
Not that one, the parasites, no.
No, so when we see parasites, you can see the little black marks. Okay.
Mhm.
Anything black is fibrin. It's a clotting protein. Okay. Now, when we take a pinprick of our finger, we've created an injury. So loads of fibrin, which is a clotting protein, will accumulate at that spot. That's why we see all this black webbing. That's fibrin. That's how it's supposed to be. It's all over the place, but there's no other marks. But when we have dark patches of protein like this clotting protein, we know there's little injuries in the body because that's why the protein accumulated in that spot.
Right.
Okay. So we're not looking at the parasites. This also can represent candida as well, but mainly it's going to be parasites. So I look at, okay, parasites, do we have low stomach acid, blah, 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 blah. Well, then have you done a parasite cleanse in 6 months? No. Okay. Well, then do you have any markers for candida? No, but it's going to be parasites. So yeah, so there's parasites by definition. They feed off the host. So they latch on to a little bit of you, and when they do that, they create a tiny, minute little bit of damage. And when that happens, the fibrin accumulates in that spot, and that's where you see it. So it's just like what's going on? What's creating all these little tiny injuries in your body? Well, it can only be so many things, and it's mainly parasites. Oh, the other thing too, parasites. While I'm talking about it, when we have parasites produce ammonia.
Mm.
Now, ammonia it thickens the blood.
Mm.
Okay, so and ammonia is very alkaline, so it increases the alkalinity of the blood. So these are the things I look for. What's our pH of our blood? What's our breath rate? Okay, do we wake up in the morning after sleeping all night and we still feel tired? Okay, because if we thicken the blood with ammonia, it makes it more viscous. The heart has to work harder, which means we burn more energy, even if we're not doing anything. So that's just another sign to look at. These are understanding the structures that I look at, because I see one thing, what am I outside seeing? If I didn't see any of the other markers, I would then be pursuing more down the candida route. Okay, this is where a lot of fatigue comes. This is where I see a lot of fatigue, especially fatigue that's not accounted for, because your heart's a big muscle. You don't know that it's working a lot harder because you're just used to it. It's like going to the gym. You can build some muscles and maybe you'll get sore for the first week or so. After a while, you feel nothing. It doesn't mean muscles aren't using a lot of energy. So you don't know it. You don't think it. And you go like, I don't know why I've got fatigue. I don't know why I've got fatigue. And then I see you've got a heap of parasites, and you've got a heap of ammonia, and ammonia is corrosive and it's very toxic to your body. You've got to get the ammonia out, get the parasites out. Oh, now what happens is now the circulatory system now is that the blood's a lot more thinner. It's not less viscous. So when you have ammonia, and a lot of ammonia in the blood, the blood's a little bit more like crude oil as opposed to red wine. Okay, so chronic fatigue, some fatigue. Oh, what do we do? Well, we'll take this and we'll take this, or we'll take this, or we'll remove the reason why you've got that chronic fatigue, or what's contributing to it is a heart that's working so much harder than it should be, and that uses up a hell of a lot of energy, but you don't know about because it's a heart. You don't feel it. You don't know. It's just going boom, boom, boom. It's doing it. Okay, and that's why I asked the question. The first question I ask is when you wake up in the morning, do you wake up in the morning do you feel still not rested? Well, that's a good sign. But well, then what's using up that energy at night when you're sleeping? And another one, while I'm talking about it, is when you put your head on the pillow, sometimes you can hear it. You can hear the blood pulsing in your ear. It makes a noise. A little. It makes a little bit of noise in the pillow sometimes if you get the right angle. And that's another sign, because why is it doing that? Because the blood's quite thick and it's actually pushing the skin out a little bit when it pulses.
Right.
I mean, when you hear that, you think, oh yeah, that makes so much sense. Yes, it does. But who talks about that?
True.
You know, bloody hell, you could teach a 5-year-old that and he'll work it out. You don't know about it when you don't hear about it. It's obvious when you do hear about it. Like I didn't know anything about this when I started going into it. We don't know, but when you start hearing this stuff and you start to think about the logic,
Yeah.
it's and all the connections. All right. Let's just come down here. So just quickly, mineral loss. So when you see these radial spikes,
Yeah.
that's but what we call calcium spokes. So when we see this, we know we've got mineral loss.
Oh.
What does that mean? Is the blood's been too acidic for too long and they're stealing minerals from the bones, calcium.
Oh God.
Now you look at that, that's obviously a different pattern than what you just looked at, yeah?
Oh yeah.
So
That's
anybody
easy to see. Yeah.
anybody would look at that and go, well, what's different there? Well, that's right, it's different. It's a different pattern.
Yeah.
And that's a strong pattern that we have. So then I would look at, okay, well, that's okay, we've got mineral loss to the bones, blah, blah, blah. So we've got to have a think about the bones, we've got to think about osteoporosis, we've got to think about the blood pH, we've got to think about minerals assimilation, what's going on there, digestion, gallbladder, digestive chemistry, HCl, all these things are going to be involved, because when you see this, because it's long-term imbalance and the body can't get the minerals from anywhere else, so it gets it from the bones. You can have cancer while you're still getting plenty of oxygen, but it's more rare. It's when we have low oxygen, because that's the environment. So we look, do we have low oxygen? Yes, we do. Oh, then what's the next thing we need to look at? Oh, yes, we do. What's the next thing we look at? Oh, yes, we do. Tick, 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 tick. Now we've got a pretty damn good idea what it is and what we've got to do to stop it. Low vitamin C. Oh, we talked about the structural stress. See how this sticks out here?
All right. Yeah.
Yeah, that's usually a very strong marker that it's the back of the head, neck, behind there.
Oh,
When
what
it
that?
sticks out like this. See the little line in there as well?
Yeah.
And then you've got the see these cells are streamed out. These are red blood cells that are streamed out across the glass a bit.
Oh.
Okay. So
Got that little black dot in the middle.
no, that's just a group of cells there, but you can just see how it's sort of, these are just individual cells that they should have stuck to, we should have a very defined edge.
Oh, I see.
Okay. Once again, I'll explain this.
Yeah.
The logic. Okay, so so we think about vitamin C. Well, the vitamin C is very important for a lot of things, but one way I look at vitamin C is it's the glue that holds us together. And because it's very important for connective tissue.
Right.
Okay. So if we've got cells, red blood cells that aren't holding together very well, and they're streaming across the glass a bit, you go, well, where's the glue?
Right.
Or where's the vitamin C? And then the next question is, well, are we consuming vitamin C?
Yeah.
And it's hard not to, but sometimes people are taking vitamin C as a supplementation. And if my clients, if I'm working with someone and I'm asking the question, they go, well, yeah, I'm taking plenty of vitamin C.
Yeah.
Well, then the next question would be, well, why is our body not assimilating vitamin C? And then I'll go to the next step, which is a catabolic cell membrane imbalance. So when we have a catabolic cell membrane imbalance, that's when our body's letting go. It's not building up. Okay. And when it does that, it's not building, and therefore it's not using the vitamin C. And then the next thing we can do is check to see how much vitamin C is coming out of the urine.
Right.
So we know what the reason is.
Right.
Okay. So it's most things I look at, you can usually, count, look at it that way. It's always like tick. It's almost like looking at programming, you know, logic. Yes, no, yes,
Yeah.
no, yes, no.
Yeah.
Okay, and we'll get to the point. Liver stress. See
Oh,
these little
God,
points?
those little spikes. Oh, hey.
Yeah, liver spikes. You also see liver. You also see the one with the halos. I think that's coming up next. I think, yeah.
Oh, these, yeah.
Different markers, but they both mean liver. Dysbiosis in the middle. So this is the gut area. I said when where there's stress and there's some stress going on in the body, where there's a lot of corrosive stress, if you like. That's where the fibrin accumulates more.
Yeah.
And well, that's in the middle. It's darker. That's more fibrin. Why? Well, that's in the gut area. Why? When they've got dysbiosis.
Right.
So toxic gut. So then I'll look at that. It's very common to have more toxic gut than anything else. There's a little bit of stuff up here too, but that's not picked out. That doesn't really mean much. Okay. Oh, cardiovascular stress, darker red areas. See, these are it's hard to tell. I'm probably going to put another picture on here it should show it a bit more.
Okay.
But they're just you can just see they're a little bit they are a little bit redder and a little bit raised. So cardiovascular stress. When I see parasites, I will usually see cardiovascular stress. That because the heart's working harder.
Right.
Okay.
And
And I've also got waking up in the morning and feeling tired and putting your ears against the thing and we've got high alkaline. It's just like it's no brainer. What we've got to do is get rid of the ammonia and get rid of the parasites, and you're going to remove so much stress from your body, which means we're going to release so much energy. Now your body has more resources to do the job of healing. And we didn't do anything other than remove stress rather than trying to add some magic bullet.
Right.
Okay, that's it. That's basically the conditions I see.